I would like to take a moment to introduce them to you. I'm going to start with Mary on the end here. She has the longest intro, so... Mary fell in love with nerd culture at a young age, first with her mother sharing her love of Star Trek and all things sci-fi. And then, when she discovered in the 1990s the show X-Men, her mother would often buy her comics to read on long family trips in the summer. I'm sure we all know about that, which started her love for graphic novels. As Mary grew, she discovered more nerdy wonders such as Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, fantasy novels like Harry Potter and Name of the Wind, anime, cosplay, and even conventions. For most of her life, she kept her nerd side hidden, as being a nerd was often seen as a bad thing. And a nerd girl was just unheard of. And now she is fully out of the nerd closet and letting her nerd flag fly. And then Crystal is joining us. Crystal Geist? Gust. Okay, I got it. I say it enough times. She's a local fangirl, wife, mother, and works in high school special education. She creates and posts tutorials for crafts, clothing, and accessories based around favorite comic book characters. And I will say that the beautiful top that she's wearing, yes, she made it. And all the way from Reno, Nevada, is Daryl Frazetti. He has a dual background in biology and anthropology. He's an anthropologist and pop culture researcher focusing on cultural themes and fandom cultures in science fiction, fantasy, and comics. He's an instructor at Western Nevada College and part-time human remains analyst for the Nevada State Historic Preservation Office. So I certainly have some questions about that. And assisting me today is my assistant, Brittany.
Hi.
And she is going to be interacting with our panelists, asking them questions. So part of this event is a little bit scripted, but it's totally open to Q&A as well. Okay? So without further ado, I'm going to turn the mic over to Brittany.
Thank you.
And here are some questions.
Okay.
And you can just pose them like to one person in particular or all of them? All of them.
Okay. Hello. Okay, so how did you guys first get involved into fandoms? So, whichever one wants to start.
Well, hi, first off. Like I said in my little biography, I first got into fandoms when I was really, really young because of my mother and everything sci-fi and Star Trek and Stargate and Star Wars and everything Star. And then as I got older, I was much more into superheroes, Sailor Moon, all that kind of stuff. It was really, really cool, and then just kept going and going and going. And now it's all about Doctor Who, Sherlock, Supernatural, everything and anything.
All right. I guess I grew up liking geeky things. Star Wars was probably one of the biggest things when I was a little kid. I probably wanted to be more of a Ninja Turtle or a Jedi than a Barbie. And it just kind of stayed with me ever since. And now I'm lucky enough where my husband is super into geeky things too. And so when we got together, it just kind of expanded, probably more than both of us thought it would. And we share it with our families and just have lots of fun with it, whether it's video games, comics, movies, or shows, whatever. It just kind of keeps going, I guess, once you get into it.
I probably... Gosh, I mean, I always read comic books or had, toys and things like that. But I think when I was about 8, the babysitter that we had got me watching Star Trek. And when early cable came out, there wasn't anything on except they put on all the old TV shows. So I grew up watching a lot of the B movies, them and, the old Japanese Godzillas and, all the goofy, Flash Gordons and things like that. So I just started watching all the old Planet of the Apes. I mean, I'm still a huge Apes fan. That's one of my favorite favorite things to do is watch Apes, read Apes, get all the Apes comics. I'm huge on Star Trek. I started going to conventions when I was 12, and it's just kind of continued from there. The cats have uniforms. You know. They have Starfleet leashes, you know, the usual. So I'm pretty normal in that respect. But yeah, it's just kind of snowballed, and quite by accident, I ended up doing work in, you know, pop culture research and teaching some classes on anthro and sci-fi, anthropology of Star Trek, Star Wars, and I give some of these talks at conventions.
Well, thank you very much for that, Daryl. It's fascinating. I don't have any costumes for my cat. I have to work on that. Maybe you can make. Do you make cat costumes, Crystal? Well, when I was organizing this event, I thought that I was new to the whole fangirl concept. I had different customers come up and tell me, what is fangirl? And I'd try to explain it to them. And then when I was reading Mary's bio and she mentioned Dungeons and Dragons, it brought me back many years ago when I played Dungeons and Dragons for 3 days straight. And it was fun. You know, I could have just kept going. So thank you for bringing me back to that time. So another question, who are some of your favorite female characters and why?
We'll go back to me. Mary always starts first. Let's see, some of my favorite female characters. Well, my favorite female character from comic books of all time, hands down, would have to be Rogue. Mostly because just she can pretty much have any power she wants as long as she, you know, physically can get a hold of the person. And now in the newer comics, she's able to not only control her powers, but she's able to recall powers from previous years that she's touched. Like, you know, 50 billion years ago, I touched Jean Grey, and now I have her telepathic powers for a minute. You know, it's pretty cool. She's also totally connected to Miss Marvel before Miss Marvel came out, and then that's how Rogue got her powers, because she absorbed Miss Marvel's powers. And I just always liked the idea of someone having that struggle of the duality in her own head, because a lot of people that have mental disorders can relate to that. And something that, personally, I have a mental disorder, so that's something I really related to growing up, was someone dealing with these voices in their head and overcoming them and becoming a really strong and powerful female. And so I was always really looked up to that. And then I think the only other female character I can think of off the top of my head was like Xena. Xena was like always like super powerful, she didn't have any superpowers. She was just really good with a sword and not scared of anybody. Because that was really empowering as like a little girl. And, you know, as you grow up, you see other females and stuff, but those two stick out of my mind every time someone's like, what's your favorite female, or the female that really empowers you? Those two always pop up in my head.
I think they might be looking at another Xena show. It might have been a rumor, but
Lala says she wants to make another Xena show, so I'm like, yeah.
Within this last week, that just kind of came up.
Yeah, I saw that.
I guess my favorite character is the shirt I'm wearing, Captain Marvel. She is female.
Yeah.
Yeah. Originally, Captain Marvel was a male character. She used to be Miss Marvel, and then a couple of years ago took up the mantle as Captain Marvel. Yeah. And within the last couple of years, she's kind of come to the forefront for Marvel Comics a little bit. Just kind of, I think part of her appeal is that she always wants to be better and do more and really find within herself, you know, what can she do that's going to push her to the next step in her life. And that's something I definitely have always identified with is, you know, what can I do to improve upon myself? And I think that's something that is pretty universal and is a big part of her appeal. And she has like a brand new series right now as part of Marvel Comics with the Carol Corps. And it's just kind of fun watching them kind of recruit more women and female into it. So she's probably my favorite. And that's why I made the shirt.
Well, a couple of the ones that I've used in particular that I like, I've used them when I've taught kids college classes. And, you know, and the kids, I try to get them interested in science and math. They have me teach these classes for kids at the college during a couple of the summers we've had. And it's hard to, you know, get them interested in math or science, especially over the summer. So the parents have shipped them off for a couple of weeks, and it's here's what you're going to go do. So last year I developed a couple of courses, which one was Science of Superheroes, and one was Science of Supervillains, and I had the Star Trek Star Wars class for them as well. But one of the characters I used extensively, and I pulled from the old TV show, was Wonder Woman. And I think, and then the kids just, you get 8, 9-year-olds, they have no idea. They haven't seen the TV show. They don't even realize that you've got this very powerful, intelligent character. And you can teach them something about science, and you can see this woman in this role, as a scientific person, and it was huge. The other thing that we were able to use her for was discussing her superpowers. Another one that I used, and I used her for weather, was Storm. Well, no, I like Storm, and like we were talking about earlier, Storm is another very intelligent. She presents herself well. She's a strong female figure. She's a leader, and to show that to the kids in class, I think, is important for that alone, but also getting them thinking about how she controls weather and how weather works. So some of my favorite characters have been used for those purposes, and that might be why I've pulled them as favorite characters too.
So who are some of the characters that you feel deserve better treatment? So, who do you think is underappreciated?
I think the answer to that is yes, all of them. Besides Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Thor, Superman, and Batman, everyone is underappreciated. Male, female, does not matter. Unless if you're one of the really high top paying superheroes that everyone knows about, Spider-Man, something like that, no one's really going to pay attention to you. There's not very many, like we were just talking about Storm. Storm is a very powerful woman and very influential in comics, and she should totally have her own movie, but she doesn't. It's very hard to find any merchandise for her, especially with a lot of other females in comics, and not just females. There's some other just males that you don't see them at all, and you're like, well, wait a second, why aren't they, getting any kind of appreciation here? So, yeah, answer is yes.
Absolutely agree with that. I think one of the biggest ones that has been in media a lot more recently would be Black Widow. She's part of the Avengers, but she is quite frequently left off of pretty much all of the merchandising, which is a bummer. And it would be nice to think that if you were going to put out a T-shirt of a team of heroes, you would include every member of the team of heroes. It shouldn't make a difference whether there's one girl's face on it or not, and making that.
We wouldn't do that with a sports team, would we?
Exactly, right. You're going to take a picture of the San Francisco Giants or 49ers or something like that. You get the team picture. So it should kind of go the same way is what I feel like.
Yeah, to date, I don't think we've never seen a female superhero really, front and center in any of the films that they've produced. And Marvel has, the list goes on about the female superheroes that are available, and you don't really see them showcased at all. We haven't seen a really good showcase of any superheroes that are female in X-Men. Batgirl is underappreciated, very much underappreciated.
Batwoman, we don't even talk about her.
No.
She's amazing.
No. Although Supergirl's getting the TV show this year, so that's a step in the right direction. And all the Ghostbusters are females. Yes. So it's yeah.
Did you not know?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's an all-female cast.
All new Ghostbusters movie is all females.
Yes.
And then their secretary is Thor.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. No, it's not actually Thor in Ghostbusters. It's the actor that played Thor. That's the secretary.
No.
So they've totally swapped the roles around. So it's females in the lead, in all the lead, and the secretary's a guy.
Yeah. And a lead guy, a very popular lead man too, who's just kind of barely going to be in the background, like, eye candy.
So I think that's really, hopefully that'll set the tone for, or pave the way rather for other superheroes to really start coming out into the forefront.
Yeah, I agree.
And Supergirl too, with that new TV show.
And hopefully with the Wonder Woman movie and the Captain Marvel movie that's going to come out, we'll have more female superhero movies.
And Agent Carter.
Agent Carter.
Oh, can we talk about Agent Carter?
Okay.
That was the end of that.
Agent Carter is an amazing show. If you haven't seen it, you need to go see it. The first season's already out and done, and the second season's going to start soon. Everyone needs to watch it. It's so amazing. It sets up everything for how S.H.I.E.L.D. gets built, and then just if you want to see a show that's literally the main character is a female. There are a couple of other secondary characters, and they're men, but they're not as important as her. She is everything, and that is amazing.
Well, I guess going with the whole woman thing and like how it's not the forefront, what are some of the misconceptions that you feel women and girls face when they attempt to get involved with fan culture? So like...
Start it back over here. I know growing up and like I said in my bio, I hid my nerd side because I just remember I loved X-Men. And as soon as the X-Men movies came out, everyone was like, oh, I love X-Men. And I'm like, oh, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I would just tell them everything that I knew about X-Men. And they're like, you just like X-Men because it's popular right now. Girls don't really like this stuff. And it's like, I got into D&D, and I'm playing it with my brother and his friends, and then I go and join another group, and I have all these guys telling me, you're only playing this game to impress guys or to date other guys or to make your boyfriend happy. Or, I go to conventions, and you just like the girly stuff. I feel like that's the misconception that women can't really be into this stuff. Women can't really be into superheroes. Women can't really like to play Call of Duty, although there's tons of women out there playing the games. There's tons of women out there cosplaying. There's tons of women out there reading the comic books and watching the movies and watching the shows and just running around going, we want this. But, that seems to be the big misconception, is that women can't enter this nerd realm, which seems to only be about dudes.
Yeah, and to kind of go off of that, it kind of almost plays off of there's two sides to it. If you're a girl and you do like geeky things, it's either one, because you want attention and you're just out there to cosplay, or two, it's because you're maybe a social outcast, you're kind of nerdy, quiet, introverted, and you don't want to be a part of something bigger, which is really unfortunate because there's just so many cool people out there. And when it's fandom in general, a lot of people, you don't question when they're obsessed with a sports team. A guy can have his whole man cave dedicated to one sports team and no one questions him.
Doctor Who closet.
Yeah, exactly. But when I build a TARDIS, it's something different. Walking around with your favorite jersey on, it's no one even bats an eye at it. But when you walk around with a cape on, maybe not necessarily cape, but other things that stand out a little bit more, like whether it's the TARDIS dress or a shirt. Especially for females, it gets questioned, do you actually know that character? Yeah. And that's probably the biggest downfall of it, is that girls, they're always questioned, is it for the attention, or is it just because you're not cool enough to like something else?
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with either of them. I would totally agree with both of you on that. One thing that came up when I was doing my original Star Trek fandom culture survey, and I had about 6,000 respondents to the original survey back in 2010. I got a phenomenal response to my gender question, and there were, what did it come out to be? I forget the numbers offhand, but the numbers for females responding to the survey far outnumbered the male respondents. And people, no, this is what people picked up on. And if you go Google this, you will find headlines everywhere still from what people had picked up on with that and ran with it. That was the one thing they picked out of the survey and put everywhere. And what's interesting is that people don't know the history of the fandom. The fandom was actually started by women. The Star Trek fandom began with a group of women, the ones that started the campaign to save the original series. And so a lot of these fandoms have a strong female origin to them and strong female participation, but and the manufacturers don't market to the women. The franchises don't market the films to the women. So they're not paying attention to the interest that the females have. And amazingly enough, the females still come out and they're doing their thing in fandom, whether anybody's noticing them or paying attention to them or marketing to them or not. I think we're starting to see a change where we're getting stronger female characters, more notoriety for the female characters, their own TV shows, maybe a little more showcase in the film. So I'd say the tide is starting to shift a little bit, female Ghostbusters and so on. So this might be a turning point in the industry as a whole or in fandom as a whole, which is a good thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Are fake geek girls really a thing, and like, what do you think about that? Like people who are being fake.
I've been waiting for this question, mostly because all of my life I have been called a fake geek girl. I've been called a fake nerd girl. That's why I was so in the closet about being a fan, because of course you can't be a fan of this stuff, and people always thought that I was fake or I was trying to get attention or I really wasn't a fan. But at the end of the day, you can't call someone a fake anything. We don't know what. Looking at some of the people here in the store, I don't know. I could go home and their whole entire house could be decked out with Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who. I don't know. I don't know people's lives, just because there are some people that walk around with their heart on their sleeve and, they'll be decked out, head to toe in fandom stuff. But then there's some of us that are more quiet about it. And I don't think that that's really fair to put some kind of label on someone as you're fake, you're not really one of us. And it's nope, you know what? Even if you like it this much or fill in this entire room with your fandom love, it doesn't matter. You're part of my fandom and I will love you and accept you. You can come hang out with me.
I totally agree with that. It seems kind of even if you've only seen the movies, to say that you're a fake geek or a fake geek girl, I just feel like that it just puts up this wall of exclusion, which is really disappointing. Or you set up a group of people who feel elitist, where they know more. We've read everything, and so somehow it pushes those people away. When a lot of times in the messages of whether it's the movies or the stories or the comics is about inclusion or finding yourself. And so I feel like putting that wall up where you're saying, well, you're a fake geek girl, it pushes people who could potentially bring a lot to a conversation or a lot to your fandom. It pushes them away before they're even able to get a chance to be there.
Okay, now I have a question. Okay. Because when I read that question, something else came to my mind. I had never known anyone, I didn't even know this existed, this problem existed, where people are being accused of being fake fangirls. The way fake fans have been described to me, male or female, but primarily female, is that the merchandise is out there, and they see the merchandise as a fashion statement and something to wear to be cool. They may not know what Star Wars is. They don't even know what a stormtrooper is, but they're wearing the gear because it's cool today. And to me, that's what it meant to be a fake fangirl. People are doing it because of the fashion statement, because it's the cool thing to be wearing. So that's how it's been presented to me.
No, I agree.
And I don't know what your take is on it, or how much of an issue this really is.
Yeah, I mean, I could just I was thinking about this not that long ago when I first read the questions. Because I know girls that are just, not only girls and guys, they're just oh, this is the trend right now. This is Star Wars. It's really big because the Star Wars movies are about to come out. So I'm going to get all into Star Wars and all that stuff. But you know what? Those people, the people that go with the trend, that are part of this is what's in right now and I'm going to go with it, and then tomorrow I'm going to go with the next thing that's in, they kind of help us. Before, I could not find anything Marvel. Anything. But now, because everybody wants something Marvel, because Marvel is really popular, I can go to Walmart and find a t-shirt for $5 and it's great. Where before I would have to go online and spend hundreds of dollars trying to find something just to fit my fandom. And I know that probably in a few years it's going to go back at it. Superheroes are going to go back out of style. Nerd culture from when I was young was a negative thing. And then now it's become this really big positive thing. It's cool to be a nerd. Everyone wants to be a nerd. Yes, I agree. Everyone come be nerds with us. But if you leave in a few years, oh well, that means our group just gets a little back smaller. We're a little more intimate, and, everyone is where they are, and it kind of makes things easier for all of us.
Well, and these aren't people that are necessarily going to conventions or buying the comic books or watching the shows. They're just buying the fashion products. And so, but I think that's another part of that whole fake fan girl And that was the only part of it that I was familiar with.
Yeah.
Was, well, it's a fashion statement. We have no idea what a stormtrooper is, but we're going to do this dance and we're going to wear the shirts and so forth. But it is
What a stormtrooper is, man. You've been living in a closet.
yeah, and I've encountered some of these people, and that's how I first encountered it. There was this group of girls on campus, and they're all wearing stormtrooper shirts, and I thought they were into Star Wars.
Yeah,
so why
that's
wouldn't
fantastic.
I? But they had no idea. They'd never seen the films. They're just wearing the shirts. And then I inquired with some of the students, that I knew, and they said, "Well, yeah, they're doing that."
Yeah.
I said, "Really? I had no idea."
It is a thing. Yeah.
So I guess it is a thing.
It is a thing.
Okay.
But it's a semi-good thing, and I still wouldn't I personally would never call someone a fake geek girl. Whether other people do it themselves, I can't stop other people. Like I said, I can't stop other people from doing what they want. This is a free country. If you're going to call a girl a fake geek girl, that's your thing. I personally wouldn't do it because I know how it feels to be on the receiving end of that, and it hurts.
Okay, so again, with like the shopping online to find your stuff, there's a distinct lack of merchandise geared towards women and girls. What responsibility do you think retailers have to provide this type of merchandise? What responsibility do fans have in making sure creators and license holders provide the merchandise? I don't know if I need to do that one over or not, but
Nope. So we're talking about merchandise, people, if you didn't catch that. So I think it's the company or the people that are in charge of the licensing. Their job is to listen to the fans and give us what we want. It's our job as the fans to sit there and go, hey, we want some Black Widow stuff. And then Disney/Marvel or whoever is in charge of it needs to be like, oh, hey, you want Black Widow stuff? Okay, here's some Black Widow t-shirts. Here's some Black Widow figurines. Here's some Black Widow stuff. You want anything else? Oh, you want some Storm things? Here you go. Yeah. That's I feel it should be that kind of easy of a give and take. Like if there's enough people out there going, hey, we want this, and it's pretty obvious. Like you go online, there's polls about it. There's all sorts of outreach and outcry for it. It's pretty evident that this is something that fans, not only female but male, also want, and it's their job as the retailer to be like, oh yeah, okay, we need to give this to you.
Yeah, I think the responsibility of the fans is to make sure that the retailers and merchandisers know that desire is out there. A lot of times they write it off as, oh, the new Avenger movie's out, it's a boy toy. And they're all going to be boy toys, even though Black Widow had this amazing scene in the movie where, spoiler alert, she jumps off a plane on a motorcycle and takes off. And it's really cool, but then when they made the toy, they made it with Captain America. And it just excluded her. Where, one, it changes the movie, and then two, it really downplays her role in the movie and presents it that she either wasn't good enough for it, or if a boy were to get a figure of her, that somehow he is less of a boy for having a girl figure. And then little girls who want the figure, they don't have that accessible to them either. So the desire for it is there, but you just got to keep being vocal about it. And there have been really awesome moments where you see those glimpses. I feel like it was like a Disney store or something in England or something like that, but online a little girl noticed that a Star Wars costume was listed for boys. And so her mom wrote to them and they changed their website. So now it's just Star Wars costume. So there's just those little things that can make a big difference in making sure that everyone can be included and that it opens it up to a lot more people. And the biggest thing would be teaching your children, boys and girls, to empathize with one another. It's not a bad thing for a girl to like a boy character or a bad thing for a boy to like a girl character. It can go both ways, and it really just opens up people a lot more to each other.
Yeah, and that's the point I was going to make, was the point about the cultural imagery with respect to a little boy wanting a girl figurine or a girl superhero T-shirt or something because it's his favorite character, and some parents still have that stigma attached to it. It's like, oh, my little boy can't have this. That's not for a boy. It's for a girl. Well, and sadly, we don't have enough superhero toys, figurines, or T-shirts for the little girls. So people actually need to start thinking differently as parents, on a cultural level. And they also need to start contacting, the franchises, the corporations, and saying, look, we want this merchandise. If you produce this merchandise, we're going to buy it. There's no question about it. So, two things I think need to change: our attitudes about what little boys and girls want and what's acceptable for them to have, and then reaching out and letting it be known to the franchises, the corporations, the guys that are producing the movies, the guys that are writing the comics. Hey, you want a merchandise? Yes. You want people to buy your stuff? Yes, of course you do. Well, you need to make this stuff too. And we can guarantee you'll have quite the business. You're in the business to make money, we will give you money. So I think, just getting that word from people and getting the word out to the people that make the decisions is a big step.
I've bought enough guy shirts. I've bought enough guy shirts where I know that money could have gone into the women's section if it had been available. Right. So, and then I know I've got my daughter enough shirts from the boys section where if it had been in the girls section, I mean, that's, again, buying power that just goes unnoticed because it's not available in the female section.
And I work over in the mall in a children's store, and we sell My Little Ponies and Avengers. Now, in the thing that we got for the displays, it says this is for the girls, My Little Ponies, and the Avengers are for the boys. We made a poll the first couple of weekends that we had them. We had more boys buy My Little Ponies, and we had more girls buy Avengers. So we had to call corporate and tell them, you can't really market this as My Little Pony is for girls and Avengers are for boys when we have more boys buying My Little Ponies who are then getting upset because it's for girls. And then we have girls getting Avengers who are getting upset because that's for boys. It's like everything should be for everybody. You're a child. It doesn't matter.
And really, there's a huge fan base of all males that are into My Little Pony. Bronies. Yeah. And it blew me away the day I discovered this. And I'm like, really? And then yeah.
How many bronies do we have in the audience?
We must have at least one. I'm sure you're one.
There's got to be one.
There's got to be somebody. And I'm sure the corporation has no. How do they not have any clue about this?
They're like, it's for little girls. It's like, you know what? There's a lot of people that watch that show.
Yeah, and they're even doing fan art, and it's boys who are doing the fan art. And it's like, well, how are they? They can't be this oblivious to it. But yet,
I think they pretend.
Yeah.
They're like ostriches.
But I think that's where it comes back to that whole cultural concept, that cultural imagery that we still haven't really broken away from. Yeah. We may, and like I said earlier, with the coming of the new films and some changes we're seeing with female characters, we may be finally at some sort of turning point. So we'll see what happens.
Yes.
Where can geek girls pretty much communicate with other fangirls, pretty much? Like other fans communicating with fans. But girl.
Well, the best place that I connected with other geek girls was a group on Facebook called Sacramento Geek Girls, Geek Girls of Sacramento. And I got in there, and that's actually how I found out about this panel. And I've connected with lots of other females that way. And I'm sure there's other places online. I know that one of the biggest thing that I found fandom was like a website called Tumblr. I don't know if any of you know this place, Tumblr, but you go on there, you type in fandom, you're gonna find tons of friends, and not just once locally. I mean, you'll find fan girls, fan boys, fan everybody just from all over the world there, and it's really great to connect with everyone, especially people from all over the world. Like you have us here in America, but then like there's someone else all the way in like New Zealand or something that's watching the same show as you, and you guys are on the same episode, and you're just like, oh my gosh, isn't it amazing? And they're like, yes, I know, it's so awesome.
On a local level, Sat Geeks. Yes. If you go to meetup.com, Sat Geeks is right there. They have a Facebook page. That's one of the ways I found out about this event. And then I think there's a lot of different meetups. If you go to, especially any local cons, in the Sacramento area, we have SAC Anime coming up, and then SACCon. There's, if you're into cosplay, there's big cosplay groups out there, and I found Facebook is probably where you post the most events, just because you can kind of get an idea of who's going to be there and what's going to happen. Locally here, those have been, I think, probably the biggest ways for me to find out about things.
Yeah, SacramentoComics.com are the SatCon guys, and they started off with just, gosh, I went to them years ago because they were a little local con and they just did the 1 days and it was real easy to, cheap, like $8 now it is even to get in. And they do a show, a little 1 day show, like once every 3 or 4 months. So you can meet quite a few people there, and it's a real intimate environment. I mean, you really have the time to get to know people. You know, you can. You know, so if you're looking for local things, you know, SacramentoComics.com with all their conventions. They run the Sac Anime and Super Sac Con. Then Stephanie Rector, she runs the Intergalactic Expo, which is out here in Sacramento in April, and Sac Geeks. So yeah, there's a lot of local ways to get involved.
We can open this up to questions, so if anyone out there has any questions for these guys. Here, we'll give you the microphone, sir.
Yay, my first time. Okay. Do I have to talk?
You have to talk into the microphone.
I don't want.
You can do it. It's okay. You're okay. Friends.
Wait, am I on TV?
No.
I don't want to use the microphone. I'm sorry.
Okay. Why don't you ask your question without the microphone?
I don't stand here. Do you guys talk about Star Wars yet?
We talked about Star Wars a little bit.
Would you like to ask a question about Star Wars? If you did ask a question about Star Wars, what would it be? What would be your question?
Are you excited about the movie coming out? Yeah, what are you excited most about it? I agree. It's gonna be. Have you seen the old ones, right? Yeah. Yeah. So you've seen 4, 5, and 6, and 1, 2, and 3. Which one was your favorite out of those? The first one, so 4 or 1? 1. Okay.
I hope we haven't confused you.
No. See, yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if you know, but originally when they were put out, 4, 5, and 6 were released first, and then came 1, 2, and 3. Yeah.
They were the
George
original
Lucas is
1,
weird.
2, 3.
George Lucas is weird. So when you say 1, to some of us old people,
Yes.
we immediately think 4.
Yes.
That's why I had that clarified. So episode 1 is your favorite. Why is that one your favorite? Yeah, that was pretty cool, right? So you like watching Anakin grow up and become Darth Vader? Yeah. Is Darth Vader like one of your favorite characters? No. Is Anakin your favorite character? Who's your favorite character? That's a good choice. So, do you remember his son in the other movies, right? Boba Fett? Yeah.
I'm wondering, are they going to bring another Fett into the other movies? Do you think they're going to have a Fett in 7?
Oh, and like, is it Steve? They really made another cartoon, and they have like a room that has the same helmet as
Oh, that's Star Wars Rebels, correct? Yes, I need to still watch that. There are things on my need to watch list, and so I need to watch that one. But yeah, so you're excited about episode 7 coming out. Yeah, and so that one comes out in December? Yeah. December, yeah. Oh, that's good. So we're going to have Luke back, and we're going to have Chewie, and we're going to have Han, and we're going to have Leia. And there's a couple new people coming out. So that'll be pretty exciting. I don't know any. I've been really good about staying away from all the spoilers for that. So, like, I don't have any idea of what's going to be going on in that movie. I've been staying far, far away from it. But, so what do you guys think about the new movie coming out?
I'm excited for it. I don't want to spoil too much of it because nowadays you don't get just a trailer for a movie, but you get a teaser for the trailer of the movie. And then you get a trailer part 2 for the movie. And there's all these little things. And so I feel like kind of staying away from some of that stuff helps kind of keep the magic of the movie alive. But Comic-Con just came out with a ton of new trailers, and I did watch those and did a great panel with them, and it just seems like they're really hyping it up, so it should be pretty exciting.
Yeah, and when Disney took it over initially, I was, well, I know,
Nervous,
but,
right?
well, nervous, but, I mean, even if they were going to do another Star Wars with George Lucas, you're still nervous. And so it's like, well, how do I feel about doing another Star Wars? You know, and which is the lesser of two evils? Yeah, that's how I approached this initially, and I was very cautious to this point. Now, with everything I know about the new film, I think I'm getting more excited about it because it seems like it's restoring the vein of the actual original trilogy. You probably have no idea what I'm talking about.
I'm staring in space.
There were 3 movies that came out, which were 4, 5, and 6, which were the original 1, 2, 3, right? And they've changed over the years, and they've been they've been touched up here and there. Yes, remaking them, yes. And so a lot of us older folks like the original ones, the first ones. Well, yes. And so this new film we think is going, some of us think, and I'm one of them now, think it's going to be a lot like the original movies.
4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, 4, 5, and 6. And the same kind of excitement and the same kind of story. And the same type of development with the characters and so on and so forth. And so I think they're going to be good.
I'm really excited for in those movies. The one thing I saw about it, because I knew I wouldn't get really any spoilers, was they're doing a lot of puppetry, like they did in 4, 5, and 6, instead of 1, 2, and 3, where they had a lot of CGI. But also they're bringing in this thing where they have like the puppet, and I don't know if you guys have seen the little preview for it, but they have this guy who's looking into a computer and he's moving his face and it makes the puppet move. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's motion capture applied to a puppet. This is exciting. The implications of this that we can use in the future is amazing. But so that's what I'm really excited about, because we're taking something really old school, puppetry and that kind of thing, and bringing it into the new century, bringing, motion capture with it and seeing what we can do with that. It'll probably make all of the puppets move a little more human-like, and that's exciting. I'm sorry, I can nerd out about this all the time.
I know throughout, like, for example, Marvel movies, they keep rebooting like a franchise. Like Spider-Man's been rebooted like I don't know how many times. But my question is kind of like, how do you individually, how do you feel about that? Are you excited that it rebooting it so many times, or are you kind of like, once would be nice and maybe just keep polishing that one? So I don't know. My question is kind of like, how do you guys feel about rebooting franchises?
For sharing.
It's really a love-hate kind of thing. I mean, they've done it a billion times with Batman. How many Batman movies are there? How many different Batmans have we had? So many.
There's only one.
Yes. Yes. But Spider-Man, we originally had one. We had Tobey Maguire. And then when they came out with The Amazing Spider-Man, I don't know how excited I was, because I was not very happy with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I thought he was a very emo Peter Parker. I wanted the quick wit, like Peter Parker was supposed to be funny. He wasn't that funny as Tobey. So when we came out with the new one, and we had the new actor who I had only seen once in Doctor Who, so I was like super duper excited. I was like, oh my gosh, it's from Doctor Who! Yay, headcanon accepted. But he played the perfect Peter Parker in my mind, and I was super excited. We had 1, we had 2. I was looking forward to The Amazing Spider-Man 3. Oh my goodness, because I was hoping they were going to bring in a different female, because Gwen had died, and then I was hoping they were going to bring in Felicia Hardy to being Black Cat, and they kind of hinted at her in the last one, and so I was really excited that might come out. And now they're like, oh no, we have to do another Spider-Man. And I get it, because if we went with the original Amazing Spider-Man, then that wouldn't make any sense with the Avengers movies, because then why wouldn't Spider-Man be in the original Avengers movie if he's in New York City and all of the stuff's getting destroyed, and he's just sitting there like, although if you've seen the meme anywhere on the internet where it's just like he comes back, he leaves New York for a day and he comes back and he's like, I was gone for a day. I went on vacation for 1 day. But no, so I understand from like the Marvel Cinematic Universe standpoint, we have to reboot it in order to bring a new Spider-Man in that would be canon with this universe. Personally, I'm just so sad, because he was such a perfect Spider-Man.
Okay, I need you to use the mic, but I'll hold it if you want to. Just hold it away so it's not right by your face. Talk.
What? Okay. sorry, I can't do it.
Okay, just ask a question.
It's not a question, it's an opinion. So, do you know when you were talking about how they took out the original Spider-Man? They're also making, I haven't talked about this in a long time. Do you know the guy that turns into Green Goblin? They're making him look tougher. And I don't like that.
I like the original Green Goblin.
Yeah.
That was the only good thing from the Tobey
See, that
Maguire
wasn't so
Spider-Man.
hard.
Was that Green Goblin? He was amazing. But yeah, that Green Goblin from the original Spider-Man, perfect. Don't touch that. Don't do anything else with it. William Dafoe, yes, because William Dafoe is amazing.
Much better. One of the other things you have to understand about the movies is, yes, they were all Marvel comic books, but Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel Movies, does not own the rights to all of the characters. So we're seeing a brand new Fantastic Four movie coming out, but that's with Fox. And then you're seeing Spider-Man, he's owned by Sony, and X-Men, they're also owned by Fox. So they're getting redone, but it's because different movie companies own different characters. And so while we have Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Avengers, those are all part of the same movie universe. And then the other movies, they're not, unfortunately, owned by Marvel Studios yet. They're trying. So that's why they keep getting rebooted and redone, because they're trying to pretty much top what Marvel Studios is doing right now. They've kind of reset the bar for what a comic movie has become. Iron Man kind of set the stage almost 10 years ago, and so it's just been building up, and now we have DC movies and WB trying to come in and catch up to that, really. And so we have a lot more movies coming out. They're restarting all the stories because it's just trying to get that fresh perspective again, and maybe build up a giant franchise too.
Yeah, all of that. I've got a couple of views on that subject. I've got my personal fan view. Now, what's interesting about me as a fan is that I adore Batman. And I've been starting to watch, I just purchased them not too long ago, the 1940s serials. Oh, I love them. Has anybody seen those? You must see these. These are done so well. And I didn't think, I mean, to me as a kid growing up and watching all the reruns of Batman, I grew up watching the Adam West Batman, so that was my Batman. I know, but you know what? I mean, for me to sit down and watch Gotham, it's like a religious experience every week when I sit down and watch this. Oh no, it is. The wine is out. You know, I have my Batman pajamas and slippers, the whole thing. Nobody called, nothing. And yeah, this is the hour. If you disturb me during that hour, you will not live to ever do that again. So for me as a Batman fan, I find it interesting that I can accept so many incarnations and so many interpretations of this story without question, and I adore it all. But yet you ask me about Star Trek, and I will throw fits of rage. As a fan, I want that out there. As a fan, the fan part of me will throw fits of rage over the new Trek films, the J.J. Trek. Mm-hmm. Yes, J.J. Trek. So as a fan, I have not come to accept these. Now, I'll give you the academic side. Okay. The academic side, I have to switch gears. The scholar me, I switch my brain gear. It's been very difficult for me to run both sides of the track sometimes, or to be a scholar at times. I have to shut the fan down, and that's not always easy to do. Well, when I was doing putting together a talk on Star Trek, for example, right after the 2009 WonderCon that they used to have up here in San Francisco, I was going down to Comic-Con, and I had to go see that movie, whether I liked it or not. I had to go through it 7 times before I could shut the fan off and judge it through an anthropological lens. That's how many times it took going through that. And so it can be hard. To switch, your hobby becomes work, and it can be difficult at times. But from what I see going on with all the reboots and the remakes, and there's a lot of, The Day the Earth Stood Still, War of the Worlds. I mean, as a fan, I have my issues with these things, and I think every fan does. But we grew up watching certain characters that we became fans of, that we identified with in some way. So how dare you change my universe? is really this isn't my perspective on it. But you've got to remember, you've got a couple of things going on. You've got people who also grew up watching these things who have their perspectives. And I think they are using the opportunity, a lot like fan filmmaking, they're using that opportunity now that they have to bring their perspective to the big screen. And so that may be something that we're seeing. Hey, I grew up watching this. I'm going to write a Spider-Man movie. I'm going to write a Batman movie. I'm going to write, Wonder Woman, because through my perspective. So I think we're seeing part of that. The other thing is money. Hey, we want a blockbuster film. We want to make money with our franchise. So maybe we're not paying as close attention to the fans or to that franchise because we're looking at it through corporate eyes. So I think you've got several things going on, really, that come into play with the remakes. As a fan, I'm not always wild about remakes. Depends on, if we're talking Batman or Star Trek or Star Wars, it depends on which one we pick. Some I'm more accepting of than others, but I think you've also got people who grew up with this, have their perspectives, and are dying now that they're in this position to bring that perspective to you so you can see it through their eyes. And then you've got the corporation that has this disconnect with fans in many instances, and they're just looking at dollar signs. So all of that, I think, comes into play here.
I know that I think Batman vs Superman is coming out soon, and I just want to kind of see you guys, your guys' perspective on that, because I know like for Marvel, they kind of before the Avengers started, they kind of had their own independent, kind of like Thor had his own movie, and then Captain America, and then in this one they're kind of just smashing the biggest names in DC together at one time. And do you think that's a good idea, or do you think they should have branched, like Wonder Woman have their own, like have her own movie and then mash it together instead of kind of just like trying to beat Avengers? I don't know, but kind of like what your
I'm running.
So I just like to say that Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the not Justice League movie, is a Justice League movie. Let's all face facts here. I really feel that DC right now is trying to compete with Marvel in the movie aspect, is because Marvel was smart and they knew they wanted to make Avengers. So what they did is they brought out Iron Man, Captain America. We already had 2 really bad Hulk movies that we're not going to talk about. And then we had Thor. So we already knew who these characters was. So when we put them into a team together, we already had an idea of who they were and why they were coming together, and so we could go from there. DC saw this and was like, hey, don't we have Justice League? Why aren't we doing this too? Oh, but all of the other members of the Justice League can't stand on their own, apparently, without Batman and Superman. So that's why they're making the Batman v Superman movie. I remember reading an article where they specifically said that they're not going to release a Wonder Woman before Batman v Superman because they believe that Wonder Woman would not be accepted by the fans beforehand. And as I can see by the audience, everyone agrees with me on this. It's like, what? What are you talking about? We have only had one Wonder Woman in the history of TV or cinematic universe. One. We've had billions of Supermans, billions of Batmans, and now we're going to have 2 more. The new Superman, though, I still haven't really seen the Superman movie, so don't judge me. But the actor I'm excited about because I've seen him in other things, and he's really good in all that stuff, so I don't see why he wouldn't be bad as Superman. I'm not so excited to see Ben Affleck as Batman. He already messed up Daredevil, and Daredevil is a pretty simple superhero, so if you mess that up, Batman's pretty complicated. So that's kind of, it's really it's really tentative for me on how I feel about this movie. I'm kind of going into it like excited to see Wonder Woman and Aquaman and The Flash, and especially because they, like we were talking earlier, they cast an Aquaman that's not at all like they have in the comic books. He's not blonde-haired, he's not blue-eyed, he's a totally different person, and I like this better than the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Aquaman. So I'm more excited about everybody else than Batman and Superman, because I really feel that they kind of are basically slapping all their fans in the face by saying, this isn't a Justice League movie, but we're going to put the entire Justice League in the movie and not call it that.
That's kind of like how they have Captain America Civil War, but it's Captain America's movie not an Avengers movie,
Yeah.
even though every Avenger's going to be in it.
Yeah.
Batman v Superman. I think it's kind of picking up where Man of Steel left off. And I didn't really like that movie a whole lot, I'll be honest. Spoiler, Lois Lane knows he's Superman. No, like that's like the biggest thing that really hurt.
Well, I'm sorry. He takes off glasses.
Okay, yes, fair enough. Not a good sex. Who are you?
That wasn't a good reboot.
No, I did not enjoy Man of Steel.
Yeah, this next Batman versus no.
I don't know about Batman versus Superman. I'm very skeptical of it.
Deadpool movie like that.
Yeah, and I think we're all on the same. I think we're all on the same page on the Batman versus Superman. Probably not the best. I mean, if you're gonna do Justice League, do Justice League.
Don't.
And do a good Justice League. I grew up on Saturday morning cartoons, the Justice League cartoons. I know. You didn't say, oh my goodness. You need to get the DVDs.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, you got to watch this. This is fantastic stuff. Yeah, we can't be that much older than you. You poor deprived child.
I'm not that old.
Well, I know. That's what I mean. We're not that much older than he is, and he somehow missed this. So you led a very sheltered life. We understand, but you can still catch up and make up for that. The cartoons were fantastic. So why can't we have that in a film? You know, DC really needs to think about how they're going to really jump into the film making business here.
They also need to make their.
Yeah.
They also need to. DC needs to take a cue from Marvel here and make their movies, because Marvel has their movies and their shows are all canon with each other. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, all of their movies, they're all canon with each other. If you want to know what's going on in behind the movies, like between the movies, watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Everything leads up to each other. There's also mini webisodes online that you can watch on the Marvel webpage, and that all leads up to each other. DC, on the other hand, is like, oh, okay, so we have all these other we have just released 3 Batman movies, but that Batman is not at all the same Batman that's going to be in Batman v Superman. That's a completely different Batman. And then this new Superman, that's not at all like the Christopher Superman. That's a completely different Superman. Oh, and this Flash that we're bringing into the Batman v Superman movie, that's not the Flash you've been watching on CW. I'm sorry.
They better give me Stephen Amell, though.
like we have Green Arrow and The Flash, and now we have Supergirl coming out on TV, and those are gonna. I mean, I've only seen the pilot for Supergirl, but I've been watching Flash and Green Arrow, and they're amazing shows. Better, I think, than some of the DC movies, honestly. And they really just need to bring all of their characters together and make it all canon with each other, so that way us as fans can have these people who, you know, I see the Flash as the Flash on the TV, and I see Green Arrow as the Flash as the Arrow on the TV. But when they're going to bring them into the movies, they're going to be completely different actors.
Yeah, you've already built up that fan base and
Yeah.
that loyalty to these characters on TV.
And they're going to completely get rid of them.
Bring them to the movies, and then you already have a guaranteed audience. But then you're bringing in brand new people, and you have to start all over again. That's
I mean, they're just
Exactly.
They're not. There's no consistency with the franchise, and you don't see that with Marvel. You know, you just don't have consistency. And Ben Affleck, no. you know. But yeah, I mean, you can't have it splintered all over the place and expect that you're going to hold a fan base.
Yeah. Can we talk about the Deadpool movie? Does anyone want to talk about that? Yes, the Deadpool movie. Okay, I want to bring up. Yeah, you're not old enough to see the Deadpool movie. He's gonna see it though. He's gonna see it. It's a good. So they originally, I mean, I read the comics for Deadpool, and Deadpool is hilarious in the comics. Yes, he does. I love chimichangas and the smell of pancakes in the morning. So I fell in love with him in the comics, and then I went to go see Wolverine Origin, and I cried. Let's not talk about the actual origin of Wolverine in the movie. We're going to skip over that part, and we'll go just straight to Deadpool. I was so excited because they announced that Wade Wilson would be in the origin, and I was like, oh my God, yes, Deadpool. And then I see him in the movie, and he walks out, and I'm like, what? What is this thing with the swords and his mouth is sewn? That is not Deadpool. What is this? I got really raged out and almost left out of the theater. Out of all the other discontinuity things in that movie, that was the straw. But then I was really excited because they said they had Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson, and he was the same Wade Wilson in the X-Men movie, and I loved him. I thought he would be the perfect one. Why, that would be the perfect him. Yes.
So isn't Wade Wilson's head?
Wade Wilson actually is dying of cancer. He is constantly dying of cancer, but he has cool regenerative powers like Wolverine. So his body is constantly dying while it's also constantly healing itself. So he just kind of looks really disgusting. But so Ryan Reynolds, who was a super big fan of the comics itself, went back and was like, dude, we can't have this be Deadpool. And so he really pushed, and the fans really pushed, and finally the studio was like, all right, we're going to make a proper Deadpool movie. And now they're making this Deadpool movie, and everything that I see about it, I'm just like screaming up and down the halls, yay, Wade. I'm so excited. He's just one of the funniest characters I've ever seen. He's just such he's not a hero, but he's not a bad guy. And he's just so many different things. You can't really pin him down. He has a crush on Spider-Man, but he's married to a woman. And, you know, like, he's got a little girl, but he likes to blow people up. You know, he's just an interesting guy.
Are we going to... Oh, Deadpool. I mean, I think it'll be a fresh take on what you expect on comic movies, because he isn't that good guy. Like, he might not necessarily come out doing the right thing all the time, and that's going to be interesting. And I think more than anything, that will bring a really fun perspective too, where kind of vigilante-ish, but he's just out there more for himself more than anything, and that's what's going to make it fun, is that he's not really tied into these other teams. So it'll be kind of interesting to see where they actually take it, if they continue on with sequels and make it a franchise or not, and then if he ends up leading into, because I think he's part of Fox.
Yeah, I think
is he
he's
Fox?
Yeah.
So will he end up, maybe meeting up with the X-Men or something? I don't know, but
hopefully they do it right, though.
yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it'll just be a really good take on what we're used to seeing, where it's always good guy versus bad guy and good guy wins. It might be something a little bit different, and I think that's what's like the most fun
bad guy
thing.
Gotta fight bad guy.
There you go.
Suicide Squad, right? there seems to be a give and take about Suicide Squad. When they announced it, everyone was like, yay, Suicide Squad. And then they started showing the pictures of the Suicide Squad, and everyone's like, what the heck is up with Harley Quinn? Why does she got, bubblegum pink hair and blue, and why does she look like this? And then everyone's like, Jared Leto's Joker is a little weird and stuff like that. So there seems to be a definitive line of, you either like the idea of the new Suicide Squad or you completely loathe the idea of the new Suicide Squad. I am on the fence. I think I'm going to have to wait to see it. I mean, I'm not sure about the look of Harley Quinn, only because I feel they really sexualized her when she really wasn't a sexualized character to begin with. But I could be completely wrong. I have to wait to see the movie. And you know what? I don't know what the Joker's going to be like until I see the movie either. I can't say, everyone's like, Jared Leto's going to be amazing. And I'm like, okay, I don't really know. I didn't know Heath Ledger was going to be amazing until I saw the Joker. Oh my gosh, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to top that. Jared, you have a big, big shoe to fill.
Mark Hamill should have been the Joker.
Yes.
All right, I'm not going to touch that one. And I don't think there's anything really wrong. I just want to put it out there. I don't think there's anything really wrong with sexualizing a character, as long as that's not the primary focus of the character.
That's what I'm worried about. I don't want Quinn to be turned into some sex icon when really she's actually a good character.
A good character. If you know that character at all, that is an excellent character. And so if they do go that route and totally just sexualize her for the sake of doing that and destroying the character, no, that's not. We ban this. But sexualizing a character is not bad, because then you're showing a strong female character who was also sexy, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's and if they're going to do something like that and maintain the character, that's a fantastically powerful image to put out there. So one would cross one's fingers and say, let's hope. As far as getting away from a straight good versus evil, and looking at the character with all the quirks and idiosyncrasies and conflicts and so on. That's a fantastic thing to put out there because you have more people identifying with characters like that and watching them go through different struggles that they may be going through themselves. And I think that's also a fantastic thing to have out there in a character and put out there in a film for someone.
Okay, so we have one last question. What is the best part of being involved in a fan culture, or all fan cultures?
This. Right here. The fact that I can go out and be like, yo, I'm a nerd. And people are like, yes, talk to me about being a nerd. I'm like, yes, let's talk nerd together. You know, like I can walk out of my place wearing my TARDIS dress and I get people stopping me going, Doctor Who, yeah, did you see the newest blah, blah, blah? And I was like, yeah, did you like blah, blah, blah? And then like I'll walk outside with my X-Men t-shirt on and they'll be like, oh my gosh, did you see the Rogue Cut? And I'm like, no, I haven't, I need to see it. You know, or just different little things, you know, it's a community that kind of comes together and it's like something that we kind of touched on earlier, like a lot of us, you know, kind of feel like we're a little bit of outcasts and maybe some of us didn't really come from like the really popular group or whatever. And some of us might not even have had a lot of friends. But when we got together with other people that were just as obsessed with us about these characters, whether it be Harry Potter, comic books, manga, TV, anything, whether it be any one of these things, when we got together with these people, we felt included. We felt like we were one and together and as a whole. And that to me is everything about this. That's the epitome of it, is coming together and being like one big, weird, nerdy family.
Definitely the sense of community about it. And then just being able to express your creative side, too. There's so many things that come up because a lot of it stems from some form of art, whether it's in comics or making movies or just any little thing where you can express it your own way, too, where you can put your own twist on it and find yourself and be able to represent that and then share it amongst people that are interested in the same thing of you. I think that's the coolest part, is just being able to be yourself and add to a community that's just willing to kind of be there and just have fun with you too. That's definitely the funnest thing.
Yeah, and that's the big thing that keeps people coming back, is the community aspect of it, or the family aspect. You go to conventions and people describe convention-going experiences like a family reunion. You may go to like a couple a year and you see the same people, and it's like, oh, I haven't seen you since last convention or last year, and so everybody's getting together, going to dinner, doing things. Nowadays, with internet and social media, everybody's staying connected outside of the convention going experience. And again, with social media, we have so many more ways to connect and build that community and expand the community. I started out doing this when I was a little kid. If my mother still knew that I had comic books and little figures and a Captain Sulu car on my shelf, and my Batman socks on. I mean, these are all my good toys. The minute when I realized my old toys as a kid were being sold for hundreds of dollars, it's like, I wouldn't have opened that $6 Million Man Lab or the Enterprise set, and it's like, but I know, yeah, and it's like, oh my gosh, but and I'd kill for that, pedal operated Batman car I used to have that I'd ride around the neighborhood with my little cape on. But see, I still walk around with my little cape on. But there's only certain places I can do that and not feel like I stand out. And I think a lot of people are attracted, or initially may be attracted to fandom because they don't fit in anywhere else. They feel like they're misfits in mainstream society, and there's something that they've latched onto. And you can come to fandom, and you'll find people that are like you. Not everybody will be exactly like you, but you will find people that are like you, and then you become friends with that particular group, so you have your group, your family and fandom. And, people are coming. I see people, gosh, I remember being a kid at the Museum of Science in Boston. This was the 90s, and they brought a Star Trek experience to the Museum of Science, and they had virtual reality for the first time, and we were all in line to be beamed. and you could interact with the little things on the screen. They were old people. They're probably in their 50s and 60s, and now at the time they seemed very old to me. And they were wearing business suits and everything, and they were going to get beamed with, "This is cool. I mean, you're going to be in this for the rest of your life, and it's going to be the best thing you ever did, and you're going to have probably the best friendships." I've known people in fandom for like 20 years. So it's cool. And that's what it is. It's the community, it's the connectivity, it's like-mindedness that keeps it all together.
Well, I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Can we give these guys a round of applause, please? Daryl, Crystal, and Mary.